I'm Lisa Michaels, and you have tuned in to Accountability. It's just very scary. So let's talk about what is the biggest hoax. It was brought on, it was initiated by the same people that brought us the Oil for Food program, which was the biggest scam in the history of the world.
Of the UN.
It's the UN. The UN. If you're going to be, you know, like Austin Powers, I want $2 million. I want to take over the world. If you want to take over the entire planet, yes, well, you have to have something the entire planet is interested in. Yes, I am talking, of course, about the weather. The climate. So tell us about that. Todd, you're pretty well informed on that.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I think that climate change has become the biggest environmental issue and one of the biggest issue in national and state politics. And it's based on this foundation, this very shaky foundation, and they're moving policy forward already. And the issue with that is that, you know, most people say, okay, they operate on this precautionary principle where we should act even though all the facts are in order to save us from impending doom. Well, the truth of the matter is global temperatures have been decreasing for at least the past 6, 7, 8 years. Carbon dioxide concentrations have been increasing, and now we see Obama wanting to label carbon dioxide, which comes out of our breath, as a pollutant.
Oh, I just been poisoned. Anyhow.
So, I mean, what you're seeing, though, with climate change and it being an issue is that you're seeing regulation of every industry, every business in our daily lives due to scares of impending climate catastrophe.
Well, it's interesting what you just said. You used the word climate change. And I'm reading Saul Alinsky's book called Rules for Radical. I think the title should be changed to the Obama Playbook. But
it is the Obama Playbook.
One of the things in that book, it says use the language. Remember, it used to be global warming. Well, we've been getting colder, as you pointed out, since I would call it 9 years. Yeah. And we've been periods when we've had a little ice age in the 70s. I remember reading magazines talking about the coming ice age.
That's right.
And if you go back through our revolutionary period, it was very cold. We had an ice age around 1100.
Who's to say what temperature is
No. But my point is, they're changing the verbiage from climate change, because we don't have climate change the wrong direction for these guys, so they're changing it, they changed it to climate change from global warming. So then we've gone from global warming now to climate change. And I'd prefer to stay with the phrase global warming and add the comma hoax, because it is a hoax. And I'm telling you folks, just get on the internet and do some research on your own. I've been doing my own research, reading some books and different text about it, some scientific publications. The fact is, the Earth does change its climate. It gets warmer and colder. Most of it's caused by the sun.
Yes.
And carbon dioxide is only 4/10, get this folks, 4/10 of 1% of our air. If we doubled it, we'd only have 0.8 of 1%. And my point is, carbon dioxide is important to life on Earth because through photosynthesis, the plants pick up carbon dioxide out of the air, which we exhale, and which comes out of the back of my car, and it uses that carbon dioxide to grow itself. It uses the carbon to expand the growth of the plant. Carbon is essential to everything in life. So it grows the plant, and at night, when the sun goes down, the plant gives off oxygen, and we like to breathe oxygen.
Yeah.
And so if you stop this source of carbon dioxide, we can actually injure our vegetation, injure our own health. And a control study was done in a hothouse where they took normal air in one hothouse and took the air in another hothouse and doubled the amount of carbon dioxide. The plants grew 40% better, and they're more resistant to disease and drought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
that's
I'm
true.
sorry.
I mean,
Okay, we agree that this is a hoax. Okay, but let's think about, like we were talking about with the other one, let's ask, why are they trying to perpetrate this huge hoax on us? So they can scam us.
Well, there's a few reasons for this, I think, first of all. Well, first of all, this environmental movement has become a monster in a sense. I mean, I believe that, I would assume that most of us here consider ourselves environmentalists. We care about the natural environment.
I do too.
We care about our air. We care about our water. But the thing is, it's morphed into this thing where it's come about government control, income redistribution schemes, and global governance. And that's where it's going on this. And that's what scares me.
That's how they slide in socialism and communism.
And I'm all for policies and even government action towards improving our environment if the benefits outweigh the costs. And as far as I'm concerned on global warming, the predictions for the future are so highly speculative that the benefits are not able to be assessed. But we do know the costs, and they're expensive, and they affect American lives.
Oh, and they're going to take over. They're going to destroy our economy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why they're trying to do it. They're trying to get a catastrophe. In Rules for Radical, tell me if I'm right on this. Their big plan is you need to have a catastrophe.
Oh, crisis.
A big crisis so that you can justify robbing people of their liberties.
Well,
and that's what they're trying to do.
Now, what you're looking at here, too, is I think you can see a conspiracy theory, but I think really what it is based on is all these rational self-interest. Everybody's, all the scientists are saying, the media as well, you can't necessarily blame the media, you can't blame the researchers, because what they're doing is they're just trying to get money. They're trying to build up their newspapers. They're trying to build up their scientific portfolio. The utilities are still going to be able to pay their employees and people, and they just pass those costs down to the consumer. So they can come in there and say, we want to help the planet.
Yeah.
So we're okay with this. But really, politicians need to understand that they get a guaranteed rate of return. The reason why they're going for this is...
And they're just being purely political because Big Brother is going to provide the rules and the regulations under which they do business.
Yeah.
And they want to, I hate to use the word suck up to these people, but that's what they were doing.
I think suck up
forgive
is okay, I want, for those of you that are like, you hear on the news this cap and trade, you're not really sure what it is. What is all this global warming stuff? You're busy, you're going to work every day. You don't have time to sit around and worry about all these little things, and that they're robbing you of your freedoms and things like that. It sounds good because you're good, you're happy, you want to have a good environment. So why don't you, in layman's terms, explain how cap and trade works?
Well, cap and trade is an interesting system. First of all, you cap the total emissions from all the facilities that happen to emit greenhouse gases. And then what you do is you ratchet that cap down over time in order to meet your reduction goals. So if you want to reduce it 50%, over time you slowly reduce that cap. Now what it is that you issue permits, each of which allow a certain amount of emissions, let's say 1 ton of greenhouse gases. And in initial rounds you give enough permits to cover their emissions to base with. Now when you ratchet this amount down, what it does is it's kind of like a game of musical chairs. Yeah. You keep pulling out permits. So now some companies are saying, hey, we don't have enough permits to emit our greenhouse gases. So what they'll do is they'll have to either purchase a permit, and how an extra permit arrives is that another business can reduce greenhouse gases by laying off workers, shutting down factories, coming up with a magical technology to reduce greenhouse gases somehow, and then they have that extra permit to sell to other companies. Now what happens is the cost of all carbon-based, all fossil fuel industries goes up. And who's that cost go to? Not a lot of politicians realize this, which is surprising to me, that they think that the cost is eaten by the company. Costs are always passed down to the consumer, which is you and I.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what it is, and people need to understand that. When costs increase for businesses, it's just passed down to the people who purchase their product.
Well, that'll put us out of business. I hate to keep coming up behind you, asking you about words you use, but I heard a new one the other day. You said cap and trade. Somebody told me it's probably kneecap and trade. You got to understand what kneecapping means.
Well, and we do have a thug government going on right now. It's very, very, very scary. Does anybody remember back in the, I don't know, was it the Dark Ages or the Renaissance time, they had these, the Catholic Church had these things called indulgences.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And indulgences worked very similarly to this, because indulgences were like, you've been a bad, bad boy or girl, and if you really still want to go to heaven, I can help you out. If you buy this lovely little trinket from the Catholic Church, yes, we will give you a free pass,
you can earn indulgences.
Fast pass to heaven. And this is the same way this is.
Well, you see that with carbon offsets.
Yeah.
You see that with renewable. A carbon offset is you purchase a product, or you purchase a feeling in a sense. Someone else reduces carbon dioxide somewhere else in the world.
Or they plant trees or something.
They plant trees, or they do energy efficiency, or they make a solar panel somewhere. And the interesting thing about this is renewable energy certificates are like a carbon offset, but only specifically with renewable energy. And what we're seeing now is in the state government and in our national government, it's going for a while, our governments are purchasing renewable energy certificates. What does that mean? They're actually purchasing a certificate, a little piece of paper that represents the environmental attributes of wind power, so that they can say that they're using renewable energy. So a state agency will use a wide variety of energy sources, fossil fuels, oil, coal, natural gas, hydro, and then they'll just purchase certificates with our tax money representing just the environmental attribute of that wind power.
They're making their own little corrupt little black market for energy power.
Well, there's
and they're all in the guise that it's supposed to help our environment. And we're like one little teeny, do you know that 3/4 of the planet's covered by water? And we're this one little teeny chunk of land out of this land surface that's on the
There-
planet. It's insanity.